Hello everybody, welcome to the soundtrack of my life. I'm Danny, and today we're going to do another mixtape. For those of you that don't know how the mixtapes work, if this is your first time checking out one of these things, I'm going to give you 10 songs. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the artist and a little bit about the song itself, and then I'm going to create a Spotify playlist that I will make public, put in the description down below for the link that you can click on to get to it. And I'll also put in links to each of the YouTube videos of the songs I'm going to put in the mixtape. So that's the way it works. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, a thumbs up down below. That would be great. Hit the bell for future notifications of future videos. And without further ado, let's get into our mixtape. Today, the mixtape is going to be Southern Rock. Now, a lot of you folks may be asking, what is Southern Rock? Well, that's a good question. Well, Southern Rock is rock and roll, but it's a special kind of rock and roll. It's dipped in bacon grease rock and roll. It's twang and bang. It's hallelujah and hellfire. It's cornbread and collards. It's crossroads and railroad tracks. It's redemption and desperation, and it's a little bit of outlaw. You know it when you hear it. And you don't have to be Southern to play it, but it sure does help. And these folks that I'm about to list in our mixtape sure do know how to play it. So without further ado, let's get on with the mixtape. The first track on the mixtape is going to be by one of the most famous rock and roll bands of all time, and one of the most well-known Southern rock bands of all time, the Allman Brothers Band. The song I'm picking out here is a song written by Gregg Allman. It was released in 1971. It was the second single off their second album called Idlewind South. Never charted, but it was always a staple of their concerts, and it's a classic. It's called Midnight Rider. The version I'm putting in the mixtape is taken live from the Fillmore East concert with the original Allman Brothers Band, which featured Duane Allman on guitar, Gregg Allman on vocals and keyboards, Dickie Betts on guitar, Barry Oakley on bass, Butch Trucks on drums, and J-Mo Johansson on drums as well. This is just an absolute classic, folks, and it takes me back to my childhood in the South every time I hear it. It's just the perfect Southern rock song. So I hope you enjoy Midnight Rider. Okay, song number 2 on our Southern Rock mixtape. We have a band from Jacksonville, Florida that was formed in 1974 by neighborhood friends Donnie Van Zant and Don Barnes. The band is called 38 Special, and the song that I picked for the mixtape today is Wild-Eyed Southern Boys. It was also the title track of their 4th studio album. It was released in 1981, and it was written by Jim Peterick, who was not a member of 38 Special, but he was one of the chief songwriters of Survivor. Yes, the same guy that wrote Eye of the Tiger wrote this song. And it didn't chart on the Billboard Hot 100 singles, but it was a staple of their live album. The whole album was a very big one for 38 Special, and it became one of their biggest selling albums. So enjoy Wild-Eyed Southern Boys by 38 Special. Okay, moving on. Song number 3 in our mixtape of Southern rock. We have the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. And they were a band that was formed in 1972 in Springfield, Missouri. Consisted of Buddy Brayfield, John Dillon, Larry Lee, Mike Granda, Randall Chowning, and Steve Cash. And the song that I've picked of theirs is called If You Wanna Get to Heaven. The song is off their debut 1973 album, The Ozark Mountain Daredevils. It hit the number 25 on the Billboard Top 100, sold about 500,000 copies, and paved the way for other singles and a couple of other albums to follow. Another great song in the Southern rock tradition. If You Want to Get to Heaven by the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Next up on the mixtape, we have the band The Outlaws. They were formed in Tampa, Florida in 1967. The band back then consisted of Frank Guidry, Huey Thompson, Hobie O'Brien, drummer David Dix, bassist Phil Holmberg. They were and still are to this day a great Southern rock and roll band. The song that I've picked from them today is one of my favorite Southern rock songs, personally. It's called Green Grass and High Tides. I love the guitars on this thing. The song was the final track on the band's debut album, just called Outlaws. It's one of their best known songs, and it gets a lot of play on album-oriented rock stations, if there still are any left out there. It was never released as a single because it was just too doggone long. It has 2 extended guitar solos on it, and it's just a really great, great song. So please enjoy Green Grass, High Tides from the Outlaws. And next up on our Southern Rock mixtape, we have Molly Hatchet with Flirtin with Disaster, another rock and roll staple, another Southern rock staple. Molly Hatchet toured the Southern rock circuit and relentlessly from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. And it was the band Molly Hatchet was formed. It was started by the guitarist Dave Lubeck, and in 1971. In 1974, they got their classic lineup: vocalist Danny Joe Brown, Wayne Rowland, Steve Holland, bassist Banner Thomas, and Bruce Crump in 76 joined to play drums. They made an immediate impact on the Southern rock scene. They became very popular to see in concert. They would sell out all over the Southeast, Southwest, and even up north sometimes. They would even though their career I don't think was as big up there, their name wasn't as well known, they still did have some hits that stretched all over the United States. Flirtin with Disaster was the name of their second album, also one of the tracks off of their album. It was the title track, released in September of 1979. The single hit the Billboard Hot 100 in 1980, achieving the position of number 42. Features Danny Joe Brown's distinct vocals on there and Lubeck's great guitar work. And if you want to know what Southern rock is, take a listen to this and you will soon find out. So please enjoy Flirtin with Disaster by Molly Hatchet. Next up on our mixtape of Southern rock, we have the band Blackfoot. From their third studio album, Strikes, song is called Train, Train, and it is instantly recognizable to Southern rock fans because of its distinctive harmonica intro. The song was written by band member Ricky Medlock's grandfather. The band members, Ricky Medlock, vocals, guitar, Charlie Hardrett, guitar, Greg T. Walker on bass, and Jackson Spires on drums. So if you've never heard Blackfoot or Train Train, get ready for some fancy harmonica playing and enjoy Train Train. And next up on our Southern Rock mixtape, we have from Spartanburg, South Carolina, the Marshal Tucker Band, another of the bands that helped establish the Southern rock genre in the early 70s, mid-70s. The original lineup of the Marshal Tucker Band, they were formed in 72, included Toy Caldwell on guitars, Doug Gray on vocals, keyboard player, saxophone player, and flute player Jerry Eubanks, rhythm guitarist George McCorkle, drummer Paul Riddle, and bassist Tommy Caldwell. The song that I have picked out here from the Marshal Tucker Band is called Can't You See, and it features a beginning flute solo, which was very unusual at the time. Unless you were a Jethro Tull fan, you didn't hear much flute on the radio. And so Can't You See kind of embodies that Southern spirit and of heartache and pain and a little bit of desperation. and you can cure it all by taking a train somewhere. The song was recorded and originally released in 1973 and didn't do much, but it was re-released in 1977 and peaked at number 75 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song was written by Toy Caldwell and featured on their debut album just entitled The Marshall Tucker Band. Okay, next up on our Southern Rock mixtape, this is probably the most recognizable and highest charting of our songs on our mixtape. It is by the Charlie Daniels Band, released in 1979. It's called The Devil Went Down to Georgia. And if you've never heard this song before, well, I don't know where you've been, because it was played all over the radio for a long time and still kind of is, depending on what stations you listen to. It was an absolute staple of the radio back in the day, and it makes appearances in commercials and all kinds of stuff now. The Charlie Daniels Band put it on their album Million Mile Reflections in 1979. It peaked at number 3, and it tells the story of a boy named Johnny who is a fiddle player and has to play for his soul against the devil. It's a great tune. It's got a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor to it, and it's pure Southern rock. Okay, that brings us to song number 9 on our Southern Rock mixtape. And we are going with a band from Los Angeles, California, doing a little Southern rock. The band is Little Feat, and it was formed back in '69 by Lowell George and Bill Payne. This song that I'm putting on the mixtape today is from their third studio album, released in 1973, and it's the title track. It's called Dixie Chicken, and it's got a distinctive New Orleans kind of flavor to it. A lot of Southern influence there. Great song. Enjoy Dixie Chicken. Okay, that brings us to our last song on our mixtape of Southern rock, and what better way to end it than with the anthem of Southern rock, the song that had everybody lighting their lighters in concerts and shouting for bands that didn't even know the song to play the song. This was written as a tribute to Duane Allman after his passing, and it became a tribute to the lead singer of this band after he died in the plane crash in 1977. The band, of course, is Lynyrd Skynyrd. The song is Freebird. Lynyrd Skynyrd was formed in Jacksonville, Florida in 1964, and the band consisted of Ronnie Van Zant, Gary Rosington, Alan Collins, Leon Wilkerson, Ed King, Artemis Pyle, and Steve Gaines. And Freebird was the song that everybody wanted to hear back in the day. It had soaring guitar solos, it had sing-along anthems, and it was just one of those things that brought people together. So I leave you at the end of our mixtape with Freebird, because after all, what song is it you want to hear? Okay, everybody, that's our Southern Rock mixtape. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit about Southern rock, heard some songs that you may have forgotten about, heard some songs that brought back memories, or heard some songs you had never heard before that you liked. Either way, hope you hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you hadn't already, because there'll be more music coming, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep the music playing, and I'll see you next time.